Greetings, folks. I am Zazubaar, and welcome to another edition of ZGC Monthly Reviews, Episode 4. Now, before we get into the show, I just want to make one kind of Debbie Downer announcement. Listen, guys, we've been doing this show for 3 months now, and it's about time that I revealed to you an aspect of this show that's quite crucial. Adam is not a human being, he's a ghost.
Yeah. I'm a ghost. Boo.
It was my desire to be truthful with you all that Adam is indeed a spirit, a spook, a phantom. And GORIZARD is a werewolf.
That lucky son of a bitch. I want to be a werewolf, but no, I'm a ghost. The only thing that I can do is friggin' walk through walls.
Oh yeah, and by the way, I'm an alien from a planet of turtles.
Camera.
If you didn't understand that the month is April, April Fools!
Fuck yeah.
Anyway, so now that we got that highly amusing bit out of the way, so now on to something a little more serious. Today on ZGC Monthly Reviews, we are going to be talking about Avatar.
Wait, that's serious?
Oh, yeah, Adam, I'm sorry, I didn't prep you for it. We are indeed going to be talking about Avatar, and I do expect you to take it seriously.
Oh, what the fuck?
I know. But before we get into it, I just forgot that I forgot to actually introduce my co-hosts exactly. Today, I am here with GORIZARD7, who finally made himself a Skype.
Well, I guess I had to join the crowd.
And I'm also here with Chopper Pilot 5, who wants to go to bed.
I want to fucking go to bed.
Yes. Anyway. So we are indeed talking about Avatar. And where I kind of wanted to start with Avatar was asking you guys the following question. If you hear from critics that a movie has fantastic effects, unparalleled visual effects, but a shit story, will you go see the movie?
GORIZARD, go first.
Regrettably, yes. I would go for the visuals, but I guess when you put it into terms like that, I guess I'll just focus on what is intended rather than what's not there. That's exactly what I expected walking into like Transformers 3 or something like that.
Yeah. I felt the same way about Transformers especially. I mean, when you get two movies directed by the same guy, which have zero story, but they have pretty good effects, then I expect the same thing from the third one, but that still didn't make me like it any better, but I agree. So Adam, how about you?
I have to agree with GORIZARD. I would still go see the movie. Even though I disagree with it. A lot of people also say this about the original Star Trek The Motion Picture. The very first Star Trek movie, that the story absolutely sucks, which I disagree with that. But a lot of people, critics especially, agree that the plot sucks ass, but the visual effects make it worth viewing. And though I disagree with that, whenever I hear critics saying the visual effects are amazing, I'll still go see the movie.
I unfortunately probably would too. It's kind of one of those guilty pleasure things where what's happening on the screen is really visually appealing, but the story sucks. But generally, this leads me to being really dissatisfied when I walk out of the theater. I don't know. Movies that rely on visuals, they leave me feeling empty. Like I didn't see a movie. Just like I saw a bunch of moving, awesome pictures.
The Artist.
I didn't see that, but I heard it was good.
No, atrocious and stupid. Did not deserve Best Picture.
Okay, well now this is turning into a review of the Oscars.
Okay, you know what? Screw the Oscars. No.
Anyway.
I don't agree with the Oscars.
No, yeah, me neither. It's ridiculous. Anyway, so I wanted to bring that up with Avatar because really, guys, I think that the only thing Avatar has going for it is its visuals.
Yeah.
And this will bring me now to the story. The problem with this movie is that James Cameron had a dream 15 years ago. He wanted to create a fully CG world, a world that you could not create with practical effects. This is his words, not mine. He believed that this world of Pandora he created, you could not do with sets and miniatures, that you had to use CG. He didn't think that the CG that he used in Terminator 2 or The Abyss was good enough to create this world of Pandora. So he created a world in his mind and on paper. But he wanted to turn it into a movie. But he said to himself, oh crap, I need to tell a story in a movie. So he created this really hackneyed story just so we can see this world.
Avatar's basically a ripoff of what was the name of the movie? Dance with Wolves. Dances with Wolves.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's a ripoff of Dances with Wolves, Last Samurai, Fern Gully, Pocahontas. They all have that same story of some guy who's on the opposite side who was like, oh, I'm going to be on a secret mission or something, or I get captured by people, and then I wind up converting to their side and wind up fighting for them, and then wind up going against my own people. You know, it's good if they go into, an explanation why, but this movie fails at that.
Oh, Avatar?
Fails at that.
It absolutely does. I didn't buy for a second that Jake Sully, I didn't buy his sudden twist to the Na'vi side. Fern Gully, I didn't buy it in that, but that's a children's movie, so, I haven't seen Pocahontas in years, so I can't comment on that one, but Dances with Wolves, I kind of bought it in that movie with that character. But the main problem with Avatar is that it doesn't give its character enough of a characterization. Like, we just get this guy, he seems like a clean slate to me. And it seems just completely natural for him to go against his own kind and just go, oh, trees are awesome.
Well, you see it coming, from the beginning you can tell what kind of movie you're getting into based on the character alone. Like, when I saw Avatar for, the first time, I kind of saw, the path that they were taking, and I was like, kind of reminds me of a movie I saw before, I just can't name it.
Yeah, it absolutely does. You can see it coming from a million miles away what's going to happen.
Yes! A million miles away! Now, you see, this movie would have been interesting if they dove into the fact why the humans hate the Na'vi so much, other than the fact that they are natives. They explained in The Last Samurai why the Emperor hates the samurai so much, because they are the only thing holding Japan back in the fact that they completely want to overthrow the Emperor. That is explained. And I have this complaint with Dances with Wolves, which is one of the most overrated movies I've ever seen, as well as this movie. In fact, I'm going to say it right now, Avatar is the most overrated movie I have ever seen.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the highest grossing movie of all time has the same story as Fern Gully?
The fact that a lot of critics are like the most original story ever.
It's got the most original premise ever. And I don't mean the whole environmental bullshit. I mean the whole, oh, let's have these things called avatars. There'll be biological vehicles that you can drive with your mind. That's kind of original. I mean, it's been done before, but I like the whole, it's a biological thing. Like, it's not a robot. That's kind of original. But again, as I said before, what Cameron's doing is creating a world, and then he needs a story so we can see that world in a movie. Otherwise, it's a documentary. Maybe a fake documentary, but still kind of a documentary. So we get this really cliched story. And And it sucks, because I really think he should have gotten an actual writer with some... given him the world and said, okay, can you tell me an original story that can happen in this world I've created? So the plot of Avatar is, well, we've pretty much been describing it this whole video. A paraplegic soldier named Jake Sully arrives on this colonized world of Pandora. It's been colonized by the Earth Corporation, the RDA, and it's being mined for this substance called unobtainium. Haha, get it? No. Anyway, so he's been assigned there because his brother, who's never named, was a scientist and had this avatar, which are these, I described it, it's this biological kind of hybrid between humans and the native, the Na'vi. And they're a cross between them, so that people can walk on the planet without wearing, like, masks and stuff. So, Jake goes there to replace his twin brother, so that way the avatar that was made for his brother can be used for him. Because they're apparently really expensive to make. So, he goes there, is met with some hostility by the scientists, but ends up getting lost in the jungles of Pandora, and, ends up being saved by a Na'vi woman named Natiri. It's clear right from then that they're going to be in love. It's that she's going to be the love interest. He goes to learn from the Na'vi how this whole world works and how their society works, and pretty much just to learn how to survive in Pandora. And that's pretty much the bulk of the movie, just him learning stuff. Like how to ride these things called banshees, just learning how to hunt, and learning about their religion, which is very naturalistic. But it ends up that through doing all these things, Jake no longer wants to strip mine this world with his fellow humans, and instead decides to fight for the Na'vi and take Pandora back. So in the end, Jake fights with the Na'vi. They are able to kick the humans out of Pandora, and that's pretty much it.
You'll live happily ever fucking after.
Yes.
I just love Chopper's hate for this movie. I just love it.
I detest this movie.
All right.
You guys never noticed I hate this movie.
Oh yeah, we can tell. Yeah, Adam's little picture on Skype is lighting on fire right now. All right. So Adam, since you hate this movie so much, and I'm just gonna say it right now, I don't think any of us really like this movie. So let's talk about the plot. So Adam, what do you think of the plot? Why do you hate it?
I hate the plot. Like, actually, at first, like the first act, I thought was pretty cool. I like the atmosphere of them setting up this world. But then it's as soon as Jake gets in his avatar, the movie goes straight down fucking hill. Like, nearly straight. What I despise about this plot so much is that it's been done so much, like line for line in other movies.
And it's always a military guy.
Yes, which actually the one thing I like about this movie is Stephen Lang.
He's a
Stephen
badass.
Lang is one of my all-time favorite actors, and no matter what he's in, I'll say he does a good performance, and this is no exception. I do think he does a great performance in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, he's awesome, and he's really fun to watch, but he comes into one of my problems with the overall film. Yeah. Everyone in this movie is so freaking radical that, and I mean like they're just so to one side that it drives me nuts, and I don't care about any of them. Because it's just like, the Na'vi love the trees. Oh, we love the trees so much. Oh, the humans are evil because they don't love the trees. And then you've got the humans who are like, we hate the earth, and we hate ground and stuff, so we're just going to destroy it. Money, 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 money. look, I get, James Cameron, I get what you're trying to do. But
Cameron, you liberal communist son of a bitch, I understand what you're doing, but don't do it.
it doesn't even come down to the whole message. It just comes down to, I don't care about your characters because they're so uncompromising and they're so uncaring that I don't sympathize with them. I don't sympathize with their cause because they're such jerks. And I guess some people can make a case for the Na'vi because, oh, our world is being mined. Oh, our world is being destroyed. Our religion's being destroyed. Yeah, okay, fine. But find a diplomatic way to solve it. Don't shoot arrows at them.
Right.
You know, I mean, that's my big problem with it, is that we don't see them attempt to make diplomatic relations, but the humans do. Anyway. But, and then also, since we're talking about the plot, I'll go into the religion briefly. Their religion is all about everything in life is meaningful. Every aspect of life has meaning. And that if you kill something, you should feel bad about it. And that you need to basically do a mercy killing. That's established early on in the film when Neytiri has to kill some kind of wolf thing to save Jake. And before she kills it, she says some kind of like religious hoo-ha and then cuts its throat. Yeah. Yeah, then we go a little later in the movie, and then they're just killing humans, just like, oh, shoot. It's just that's my big problem with the plot, is that they break their own morals, so I don't sympathize with them.
Right, you mean it's all like all hypocritical.
GORIZARD, what do you think of the plot?
The plot is, one of the main problems I have with the movie. It's typical, it's predictable, you can see things coming from 10,000 miles away. It's a story that's been done to death. And after I saw it for like a second time, it just didn't seem all that appealing to me. It just didn't seem too believable. It just, come on. Pocahontas all over again?
Yeah.
That's putting it politely.
No, I know.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but this is why I thought it was a cheap imitation of Pocahontas, was because the Na'vi are basically like the alien equivalent of Native Americans.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And that's also why it's a ripoff of Dances with Wolves.
James Cameron didn't even bother to give the Na'vi a different origins. He had to make them Native Americans. I mean,
right.
Did these aliens, did they see Native American culture on Earth? I mean, there can't be two similar cultures at million light years away. I mean, I was like, well, what the hell? James Cameron's not being original here. He's basically...
When is he ever friggin' original?
Yeah, I know. James Cameron basically took an existing race and turned them into blue aliens.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, you're right. It doesn't make any sense. And really, every aspect of the story in this movie, not the world, comes down to he didn't think about it. Again, as I said, he needed something to show this world off. So he created these very stereotypical characters with very stereotypical origins and a very stereotypical conflict. And ultimately, I think that the story also, again, it really suffers from the characters being radical. It really suffers from the lack of originality. And, just stuff like that. It also suffers from having some really generic acting.
One thing I like to point out is that Sigourney Weaver, she's basically playing Ridley from Alien.
She's my favorite actress.
Yeah, but...
Okay, I have to restate that. She's my favorite performance in this movie. And because I'm such a big Aliens fan, she's really fun. Especially when you see her and Stephen Lang kind of at odds with each other. It's really fun. She's got this sense of professionalism that no one else in this movie has. I mean, Sam Worthington is Sam Worthington, and everyone else is just paper thin.
Sam Worthington can't friggin' act.
And also, his Australian accent peeks through way too much. I mean, he's clearly supposed to be American in this movie. He really needed a better acting, accent coach, because he just sounds Australian. But yeah, Sigourney Weaver, I think is fun. But again, her character is so uncompromising that I don't sympathize with her. I just like the performance. Stephen Lang's the same way. But Sam Worthington, I've heard him in interviews explain that he based his performance off of his young nephew. Because his young nephew was just experiencing the world and running around and playing for the first time, so he thought that's the way Jake should be. I honestly thought that the movie would have worked so much better if he was this kind of no-nonsense soldier beforehand.
Yeah,
and not
why
this,
not?
And,
it's at least fucking original.
Yeah, why not make him really hardened, and then his character arc about learning about the Na'vi would have meant so much more. Because as I said, he's just such a clean slate that I don't really care or buy this kind of sudden switch to the other side in this. Overall, I just think that another writer really needed to come in and write these characters and how they should be, and then we would have had at least a much more original movie, and a movie with much more layers.
Okay, I would like to mention something.
Sure, go ahead.
Because we're talking about plot. There was an extended director's cut released, and I have seen the extended director's cut, saying, thank God, maybe this will have some extra story to it. No, the thing that I got out of it, more action and a longer, really disturbing sex scene.
Oh my God. We have to cover it. I've never seen it.
You know that?
Yes! They show the tails intertwining, and it's so passionate. And I'm gagging because they stick those things in other animals. At least clean it.
That's just proof that James Cameron didn't think this through. He just jumped ahead with millions of dollars from the studio without delivering something original or something that's enriching. The only thing good about this movie is its groundbreaking CGI. That's the only thing good about it.
Yeah, and we might as well go to that now. We've been bitching about everything else for this whole review. I mean, really the best thing about this is the effects. I mean, the effects are incredible.
Yep.
I mean,
well, the thing that bugs me about the visual bit, everyone's like, oh, James Cameron was like the first to ever do this, and oh my God, he's so awesome. No. The first time that actually James Cameron said when he saw the remake to King Kong in '05, that's when he said he could do Avatar. So he's not even being original in that.
no, he's not. And the motion...
He's taking credit when he shouldn't be taking credit.
Right. I mean, the one thing we gotta give him props for is that the world does look organic.
Yes, it very much does.
And the characters look organic. And the faces, they don't look like just like generic alien faces. Everyone looks like they've got the actor's face on them.
Right.
And that's incredible. That's fantastic. The clothes on the characters I thought were really impressive. They look like those things were actually wearing clothes.
So many Nateri nipple slips.
The Na'vi?
No, I'm mainly talking about when we see like the actual avatars in like the first scene where they're in the jungle and they're wearing like human clothes. I think those clothes look real.
Yeah.
But they're all CG. And I think that's really impressive.
One thing I like to talk about the costumes, the human costumes, is that they look like they just took the wardrobe out of Aliens or The Abyss or The Terminator.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that only because James Cameron created those things. So I don't mind that his styles of these militaries look similar, but it doesn't help the film's originality.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to kind of point out about the visuals is, especially about the animals. The animals aren't that original. They're all just animals on Earth with weird alien interesting tweaks to them. Again, I was bringing up the wolf things earlier. There's like these rhino things that just have like shark heads attached to them.
Big ass birds.
Big ass birds. The horses. And I'm just like, why couldn't these things just be more like alien looking and original?
Yeah.
They look cool. They look organic, but I don't know. It's just they're not original enough for me.
It shouldn't spark any fascination because you've clearly seen these type of animals before. There's just an alien twist to them.
Right. And that's important with this thing, because isn't James Cameron trying to evoke that we want to get into this world at least? Not even... Maybe he doesn't even want us to care about the story, but he definitely wants us to care about this world and be fascinated by it. I wasn't.
Yeah.
Because I live in this world. It's not a world that's so freaking weird. I think that maybe if you would have made the environments and the animals more original, then I would have been fascinated by it.
And above that, I want to talk about there's nothing really else I can say about the visual effects other than they're freaking groundbreaking and epic.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about the message in the movie, and there's several.
Oh, it's funny, we're on that on my list.
Oh, that's funny.
All right, go into it, Adam.
Okay. One, I disagree with just about everything about this message in the freaking movie. And the biggest one that I complain about is that James Cameron is conveying that the military is nothing but a bunch of capitalistic whores that want to do nothing but rape everybody and, kill everything. Which, the military, is, trained to kill things. If James Cameron does not want a military, clearly in this movie, he doesn't like the military at all.
Yeah.
James Cameron. If it wasn't for the fucking military, this movie could not have been made because, they're out there dying, protecting our freedom every day.
I just want to say this. Go ahead and finish the thought.
Annoys me to no end.
Yeah.
It annoys me to no end. That message there annoys me to no end.
I just want to say quickly, I know that if we're going to talk about this movie, we're going to inevitably get into the environment and politics, but I just want to say briefly, I don't think we should get too much into our opinions on it, only because we're reviewing a movie here. We're not getting into a political debate. So I think that the main thing we should be talking about is the message conveyed properly? It's not that if we agree with it, but it's more or less, is he successful at doing it in an original way and actually making us pay attention to the message, and not necessarily that we agree with it, but that we recognize that it was there and that it was done with subtlety and finesse, which it's not. This is the most hammered in, just completely inambiguous message I have ever seen. I'm going to tell a brief story. About a week ago when I was watching the movie for this review, I opened the box, and there was a little booklet inside the box. And I was thinking to myself, there's probably going to be some kind of website in here for Save the Trees. So I looked for it, and it wasn't in there. And then I turned to the back page, and there was this huge advertisement for, of course, an environmental program to save the trees. And guess what? It was created for this movie. It was called the Home Tree Initiative. And I'm thinking to myself, I'd like a movie even less when I don't care about the characters, I don't like the story, and the whole time the movie's just trying to sell me on an idea. That's not how filmmaking should work. The filmmaking or expressing a message through filmmaking should work by showing why something, by revealing a hidden truth or revealing some kind of message through likable characters who either the point of the message hurts them or it helps them. I didn't get that in this because I didn't care about the characters. Again, everyone is so uncompromising, I just don't care. GORIZARD, would you agree?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The movie sucks.
didn't mean to like shut you down when you were going in your opinions. I just don't think that we should talk about that here. That's pretty much all I wanted to say. Do you guys have anything you want to talk about?
Well, one thing that I like to talk about that kind of pisses me off is supposedly quote-unquote fans of Avatar. I do find it believable that there are people who like this movie, but I wouldn't go as far as to saying that people are in love with this movie in the same way that there are fans out there who fell in love with Star Wars. Because I've seen some comments on YouTube about these hardcore fans who found this movie probably like even better than Star Wars. I thought that was blasphemy. And this movie just to me it just doesn't have that same equivalency as Star Wars or Battlestar Galactica. None of those classic sci-fi films that were truly groundbreaking on every aspect. Avatar just doesn't fall into that category for me. And there are some people out there who actually believe that Avatar does fall under that category. The only thing good about it is the CGI. That's it. It's typical James Cameron. There's nothing original here. There's nothing significant. There's nothing memorable. The only thing memorable is the blue aliens. That's it. In Star Wars, people remember Darth Vader. They remember Princess Leia with the weird hair. They remember Chewbacca, Han Solo. Here, what am I going to remember from? The blue aliens? That's it. That's all I'm going to remember. Avatar is just not. It's not one of the sci-fi greats. Not to me. It's typical James Cameron, but with on a bigger scale. It still has the same thing you see in an Alien. The whole corrupted corporation. Sigourney Weaver still playing Ellen Ripley. The tough women you've seen in The Abyss, Alien, Terminator 2, and the typical villains. It's all the same James Cameron crap that you've seen in the 80s and 90s. And that's it. That's Avatar to me.
Yeah, I agree. This is never going to be on the same scale as Star Wars or Battlestar Galactica or Star Trek, and it's pretty much for the reason that you said. It's because those movies had stories, they had interesting premises, and they had likable characters. Again, I don't like anyone in this movie, and also, we've got to remember that this movie was made with an agenda. Love trees and love nothing else. Star Wars, Star Trek, and Battlestar Galactica were not really made with an agenda. They were there to tell a good story. So,
I kind of want to go back to the whole behind the message thing.
Sure, go ahead.
I know all three of us are going to get some hate mail from hardcore Avatar fans if they find this review at all. Because, most likely they're going to tell us something like, oh, well, this is a movie, it's entertainment. I go see the movie to escape from reality. But, if you're going to make a movie that's just pure fun, popcorn entertainment, then don't put political themes like imperialism, militarism, anti-Americanism, adding religion and mythology. If you're going to do that, at least make it significant.
You make a great point. You make a very great point.
For a movie that's quote-unquote popcorn entertainment, it has too much, like you said, agendas. It has too much intended messages behind it. All, political, religious, military. If you're going to do a film like that with messages, about military, country and races, at least make it worthwhile. At least make it distinguished and significant.
At least make the characters likable.
Yeah, at least make the characters likable too.
So yeah, I completely agree. You make a valid point. Yeah.
So if they're aliens, then don't make them Native Americans, because that's responsible for some backlash from the Native American community.
Yeah, totally.
Well, first you call us red, now you call us blue.
Yeah. Yeah, that's totally true. if you're gonna make a movie that's trying to be entertaining and has nothing else behind it, then don't put in this huge political message. Just make the movie entertaining, have good action scenes, and that's it.
But if you are trying to make a movie with those themes behind it, at least make it good. At least make it significant, distinguished, and make it a real attention getter. Don't just fill the screen with crying alien people. Because I read on Times Magazine the scene where Home 3 is burning and just collapses. Some people found that the equivalent of the September 11 attack.
Oh my God, that is such bullshit.
Seriously? That's going way too far.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
On the religious aspect, I heard that Pandora is the equivalent to the Garden of Eden. That it's such that Pandora is a pure place, and that humans are trying to, what's the other word for making things clean? Dirtying it up with bloodshed or some crap like
Just
that.
destroying it.
Yeah, destroy it. Or basically,
less now.
the humans are Americans, which yes they are, and the Na'vi are Iraq.
Yeah, it's all just pretentious stuff that I don't even think James Cameron wanted to do that. I really just think that was what resulted from him telling this kind of story, just because he couldn't think of any other way to have this world come to life.
I believe that James Cameron made this movie without the intention of adding all these things. That people are just making their own meaning, and those meanings are not really there. And if they are, they're probably coincidental because I didn't see that whole burning tree as an equivalent to 9/11. I mean, I actually did feel a little bit sad for that particular scene. It made me believe, but I didn't go as far as comparing it to 9/11.
I thought that scene was rather emotional, but again, the whole comparison to 9/11 is completely unfounded, and it really is just there to say humans suck, trees are awesome. And I like the emotions. I liked how it was shot, but overall, that it's just there to villainize the villains even further, and to show us why trees are awesome. But then again, my biggest problem with this movie is that the Na'vi compromise their own morals. If life is so sacred, why are you so okay with just brutally killing humans? I mean, isn't that the same thing as just killing a wolf and not saying some kind of prayer?
The movie has too many loopholes.
It's got tons of plot holes. It does. So anything else you guys want to talk about?
Yes.
All right, go ahead, Adam.
James Horner's score.
I think it's good.
I think it's generic.
I never really even noticed it. It was just kind of always there, just there with the whole cliched. It is definitely generic. I agree.
Yeah. And I'm all for the poetic singer. In fact, I like the poetic singer in most cases. But in this case, I found it unnecessary. Whatever the heck that is, I think it's a girl, but it very well could be a guy who goes. It makes us, it's like, oh, this is so sad. We should just drop our mouths and, start drooling from the sadness because we're so dumb. This music's making us sympathize with these characters in which whom we would not give a shit about if it wasn't for this sad music.
Yeah, that's so true.
I found it wasn't necessary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, I don't care about these characters because, again, they're so uncompromising.
Yes.
Anyway, but yeah, I agree. The score is generic. That whole operatic singer is so overused.
If if you're going to use the poetic singer, do what Peter Jackson did for like Lord of the Rings and make it necessary. I mean, Lord of the Rings is a case where the poetic singer is done extremely well.
Yeah. It's just, you know, it sounds great and it sounds emotional, but when I don't care about what's going on screen, it doesn't. It's just there, and it just makes me groan. Otherwise, though, I didn't really notice the music.
Yeah, me neither.
This ain't no Daft Punk.
This ain't no Daft Punk. That is, you are correct in that statement, good sir.
One of the reasons why I hated this movie, and this is the big one, this is my number one justification to hate Avatar altogether and James Cameron, is because this movie alone spawned the whole 3D boom thing in Hollywood.
It so did.
Avatar was never made, then movies would be released in 2D like it should be. Instead, every single thing is released in 3D. Unnecessary things in 3D. Titanic in 3D. Star Wars in 3D. The Lion King in 3D. Step up 3D. Jesus.
Titanic.
Oh. Yeah, it definitely did.
I share the same. Actually, no. I used to share the same opinion as Martin Scorsese until he turned into a hypocrite.
Hugo.
He said several times that he thinks 3D is a monstrosity to cinema, and I agree with that statement. But then he made Hugo, and that made me extremely pissed off. But I agree, 100% agree with the aspect that 3D is ruining cinema.
I don't think Martin Scorsese was at fault with the whole 3D thing. I think that was the studio's decision. Because every studio out there, they want to cash in on the success of Avatar, because
When you've got a movie that's the highest grossing movie of all time, and it was in 3D, and then most of why it was so successful was because of the 3D, then yeah, studios are going to rip that off.
I do admit, I went to go see this movie in 3D.
I didn't.
For the third time, unwillingly again. And I do admit that the 3D effects they were very effective. But well, one thing I hate about 3D is that they're only effective for the first 5 minutes, and then for the rest of the movie, it's basically like you're wearing sunglasses in the theater.
Yeah.
But it's not nearly as badass.
And also, they hurt my eyes.
Oh yeah, I hate the real deep 3D glasses. I saw what was it? Despicable Me in 3D, and it was one of the most painful experiences of my life.
Well, I'm going to do a little bit more of a rant, but I'm going to keep myself calm. That's a shocker. 3D. Okay. Cinema. Never supposed to be 3D. Because what is cinema? What is your definition of cinema?
For each of us?
I want you guys to answer that. What is your definition of cinema?
My definition of cinema would be like well, to me, it's kind of like escape from reality and just, immerse yourself into this world that probably, doesn't exist, or just, situations you never thought you'd be in, and just find it entertaining to see other people suffer. But, of course, I'm talking about action and sci-fi, so...
Yeah, I agree.
It's pretty bland.
Yeah, for me, cinema is supposed to be, the screen should just suck me in. I shouldn't even remember that that's a screen. That should be my window into another world. And, I don't like things crashing through my windows, so...
Okay. Now here's what I'm going to say about that, because I agree with both of your opinions, except my definition will go far further than that. But 3D is such a monstrosity when it comes to cinema. Cinema, yes, is that escapism aspect, and it shouldn't rely on actual 3D effect that's actually forcing you to go in this world and not actually wanting to get invested in this world, no matter what you do. And that's 3D. 3D is forcing you to go into this world without, even being invested into the world, which also would mean that, it just destroys the entire idea of, cinematography. That means you can stick a camera anywhere now and it'll be fine. One thing that is so special about cinematography, especially in 2D, films is that it takes time and it takes so much effort to place a camera where it's supposed to be located so that you're not being forced to look into this world, but because of where the camera is located, you are invested into this world. And 3D takes that idea of cinematography, creating another story, and just tears it apart.
I agree. Yeah. 3D... Yeah, what you said really is true, that 3D kind of forces you into being immersed in a world when we should want to, otherwise it's not effective. I think that's kind of what happened with Avatar. James Cameron is so desperate to get this world on screen and get us into this world that he puts it in 3D, and I feel repulsed by it. But again, I didn't see it in 3D, but that's just how I feel about 3D in general, that I'm repulsed away from it because 3D reminds me that it's a screen for some reason. That when it pops out, I'm just like, oh yeah, that's a screen. This isn't real. Adam, I totally agree. I really just think that the whole 3D gimmick it's gonna die off eventually, because I
hope so.
3D has been around for years. I mean, the original Creature from the Black Lagoon was in 3D.
Yeah.
The gimmick is gonna die off. It's not gonna last much longer, but then it'll pop up again later.
Also, kind of like 3D, it affects films of today greatly. Like some filmmakers, they sacrifice story and characters for the sake of 3D effects. And one of the films that kind of like does that is the Conan the Barbarian reboot and Clash of the Titans.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with Clash of the Titans. I saw that in 3D, and it was one of the worst experiences of my life.
Yeah, me too. Never trust the studio when they say that the 3D improves the movie-going experience.
Oh yeah, they're totally lying. Alright, so do you guys have anything else you want to say about Avatar?
No.
Okay. Well then I just want to bring this up quickly. I'm really glad I watched it again for this review. And Adam, I talked to you about this at some point in one of our other conversations, but because I remembered this movie as being really, really, really awful and being really boring and everything. And believe me, it's not a great movie. I still think it's bad. But at the very least, I was able to kind of enjoy it on a level of, the effects are great, and I don't know, I enjoyed it a little more than I thought I would on this viewing. And I'm really glad I rewatched it. Otherwise, this whole video would have just been, me just living from experiences that I had years ago and just remembering it as being awful, because I don't think it's awful. I think it's bad. But I can't call this movie awful when I somewhat enjoy watching it. Am I going to pop it in every day for the rest of my life? Hell no. I think it's way too long, and I think the third act is one of the most painful acts in new film history. But I somewhat enjoy the rest of the film, and I think it's certainly got its good points. I like the first scene in the jungle. I think it's kind of fun. I think that the dialogue's silly. When Sam Worthington is like acting like a badass in front of that animal, where he's like, "Oh yeah, you got nothing. Run your bitch ass back to mommy." I'm like, that's so silly. If he was a real Marine, he wouldn't be saying that. So yeah, I think it's silly, but I somewhat still enjoy it. Do I recommend it? Not really.
No, I wouldn't recommend it.
No, watch the trailer. You'll understand the CGI, and then you don't need to see the movie. I mean, the effects are groundbreaking, but the story's crap, and for me, to enjoy good effects, I need a good story to get to the effects. Unless the whole movie is one long fight scene, and then that can also be boring. Anyway, so that's pretty much all I have to say about Avatar. So if you guys have nothing else you want to say, let's go to our scores. So we'll go in reverse order as usual. Adam, your score.
Well, I was originally going to give it 2 out of 4. But because of GORIZARD bringing up the Garden of Eden and 9/11 shit, I'm going to give it a 1.5 out of 4.
GORIZARD, you ruined this movie for Adam.
It was already for the most part ruined.
James Cameron already did that by ripping off Dances with Wolves.
Yeah. All right, so GORIZARD, your score.
I'm going to be generous and just give it a 2.5 stars out of 4. And mainly because, I enjoyed it for what it was. I mean, when I first saw this movie for the first time, I said to myself, dude, this is the greatest movie ever made. And I said that with capital letters, all capital. But then I saw it a second time unwillingly, and I was like, pretty good sci-fi. Then I saw it a third time, I'm all like, this is bullshit. It's clearly a rip-off of Pocahontas, The Last Samurai, and The Dances with Wolves. When I saw it a third time, the illusion of the quote-unquote greatest movie ever was broken because, after watching it, like unwillingly 2 more times, I finally saw like the truth behind it. James Cameron is a money-hungry fool. These classic directors like George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, James Cameron, the older they get, the more they lose their cool.
The more they lose their craft.
Yeah.
They don't get it anymore. It's all about the money.
Back in the days, go on?
No, you go ahead.
Back in the days, it was all Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Aliens, all these greats in cinema. And now, the creators of those franchises that we grew up with as children, they're going back and ruining them for us. George Lucas with the whole special editions of Star Wars, the whole Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and Avatar. And it's all for money now. It's not for the art. It's not for the fans. It's all for money. And that's one of the main reasons why I kind of don't like Avatar. It's clearly, a film that was meant to create an uproar to audiences worldwide about, the environment is good, save it, save the trees. It's basically an activist movie, but on a global scale. And I just don't buy it as a film that's groundbreaking in terms of story. It's no Star Wars. It's just a sci-fi film with a few loopholes, plot holes, a few unnecessary themes behind it about imperialism, militarism, anti-Americanism. It's all just, there to it's just there for the sake of being there, so people won't accuse it of having a story, even though it clearly doesn't. But as a movie, I enjoyed it. Just as a movie, that's it. Because I don't want to hypocrite myself. But, I go to movies to escape from reality. But when you make a film that you want to add a message to it, at least do it right. Don't treat it as a fun film with a message behind it. Then the fun is just taken away with the stupid message.
Yeah, I completely agree. I actually had the same experience where the first time I saw it, I loved it, but then I got it on DVD and was like, wow, this is pretty bad. I'm gonna give the film. I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5. It's my main problem with it is that it's boring. The message is added in at the last minute just to give it something behind all the cool effects. And James Cameron, you really should have given this to an actual writer and just given him the world, because then we wouldn't have gotten such a hackneyed story here. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5. So that's it for Avatar, I guess. Unless you guys have anything else you want to say.
I think we're done.
All right, I think we pretty much raped this movie enough. So let's move on to drumroll, please. Lost, found, but never filmed. All right, so
I want to make a request.
Go ahead.
I want to go last.
All right. That sounds good. GORIZARD, you are the only one of us who hasn't gone first. Would you like to do the honors of kicking us off?
Yes, and I
yeah.
Yes! GORIZARD, do the dance of joy.
Zazubaar already knows which one I'm going to pick.
I absolutely do.
Yeah, Superman Flyby, the unproduced fifth Superman film that evolved into Superman Returns. During the 90s and early 2000s, Warner Brothers was commissioned to reboot Superman, and they had over thousands of rejected Superman scripts, from the campy Superman Reborn to Kevin Smith's Superman Lives, where he doesn't fly and fights a giant spider, to the incredible reinvention from J.J. Abrams' Superman Flyby. It's by far one of the best Superman scripts I read so far, and I'm about to tell you why. J.J. Abrams, he wrote this all by himself in just the first draft, but even for a first draft, it's amazing. It's a really enriching story with great dialogue, great detail from J.J. Abrams' creative writing. It's a perfect reinvention of Superman. If you told hardcore Superman fans about this film, then they would probably panic, because this film really does kind of like change many things about the source material. Like, for example, in the original source material, Superman is sent to Earth by his parents because they're trying to save him from the planet dying. Krypton is about to explode, and they're trying to save their son, so they send him to a distant planet. In Superman Flyby, they kind of have like a justification for a different justification for sending Superman to Earth. And I'm about to go into the plot right quick. The film is about Krypton under civil war, and Jor-El apparently is the ruler, the king of Krypton up to this point. And his brother, Khazar-Zor, declares war on him and trying to take over the throne. And apparently there's this prophecy on Krypton where a Krypton boy is sent to a distant world where he will one day return and free the people of Krypton. And of course this is Kal-El, Superman. So before Khazar-Zor manages to reach the Krypton Palace where Jor-El and Lara are in, he sends Kal-El to Earth. And instead of Krypton being blown up by, whether it's by Brainiac or by natural causes,
The sun exploding is usually what you hear.
Krypton is instead overruled by Khazar-Zor and his military. So Krypton still exists. And Jor-El is taken prisoner by his brother, and Lara is sent to live somewhere off the Krypton desert for 20 years. And of course, by this point we know that Kal-El is sent to Earth at the Kent farm, where he's raised by Jonathan and Martha Kent. And years later, when Clark Kent is a teenager, he discovers this capsule where he was sent from. And his parents tell him that, he just came in this alien vessel, and whole yada yada thing. People already know that part of the story. And apparently, this is very interesting to me about the way J.J. Abrams reinvented the Superman suit. It acts like a symbiote, like in Spider-Man 3. It's not like a clothes, you put it on and stuff. It attaches to Clark Kent's body, and it just manifests itself into a suit. So I thought that was pretty clever.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. And also, okay, so for 20 years, Khazar-Zor and now his son, Izor, who's the main villain, are looking for Superman, and they finally find Superman when he rescues Lois Lane on this almost Air Force One plane tragedy. Do you guys remember the scene in Superman Returns where Superman saves that plane?
Yeah.
Yeah, that scene came from J.J. Abrams' Superman script.
They kind of have it in the first movie.
Yeah. Except that one was a helicopter.
Well, also also, they have a scene with Air Force One in Superman the movie where Air Force One's jet blows up, and Superman has to be, like, pretty much be the engine. So that's cool. That's a good way to introduce him.
After Superman saves Lois and Air Force One, he is loved by everyone around the world. But when Zor and these other 3 Kryptonians appear with this massive robot called I think it's called a hero. He just calls it a mecha warrior, and apparently it walks on 3 legs.
Oh, it's not Metallo?
No, it's not Metallo.
Oh.
After he saves Washington from certain destruction, people are beginning to be afraid of him. They kind of like they kind of push Superman away like he's this beast, because everyone believes that no matter where Superman is now, another robot is going to appear. But then Zor and his Kryptonian buddies appear, and they fight Superman all across the globe, literally. And these guys are so strong that in one portion of the script, Zor kicks Superman and kicks him all the way across the Atlantic into the Middle East. Apparently these guys are skilled in martial arts and have some sort of an ancient Kryptonian sword that blasts out laser beams. It's all clever. And they kill Superman.
Oh.
Spoiler, but yeah, they kill Superman at first. And when Jor-El, who's in prison by this time, when he hears that, he doesn't hear that Superman dies, he kind of feels it. And before Zor tells him that Superman is dead, Jor-El commits suicide, and he meets the sun in Kryptonian heaven. J.J. Abrams added that, and I thought that was pretty clever. But all the Kryptonian heaven is just blank space. And right there, Jor-El informs Superman what his true purpose in life is, and that's to save Earth and fulfill the prophecy, to return to Krypton and save his people. So Jor-El sacrifices his life force for Superman, and comes back alive and defeats the Kryptonians and goes back to Krypton, where the script then it just ends as a cliffhanger for a trilogy. So yeah, J.J. Abrams, he really had an agenda going on with this. He knew how he wanted to take Superman, and he wanted to reinvent it for a new generation, and he did it really good. Although, like, some hardcore fans might disagree, but I thought it was a very, very great reinvention. The Superman suit was completely different. It looks more alien-like, based on
I want to see that. That sounds really interesting. I like the actual whole Kryptonian Civil War thing. That sounds interesting. And, you know, Gorizard, after hearing you describe it, I actually would love to see it adapted into a graphic novel now, because, you know, when you were describing it to me, you know, in texting, I didn't really want to see it adapted, only because we get a new Superman origin every year. You know, last year we had Birthright, and this year we had Earth 1. And, you know, we just got Superman's origin done again in Action Comics. But that sounds really interesting, so I wish they would adapt that into a graphic novel.
It's really like a fresh new start for Superman. After the countless rehashes of the Christopher Reeve version, this is a whole new version. And they even went far as to put this in pre-production. You know, it wasn't stuck in development hell. It was in pre-production, so there were some people considered for the role of Superman, like Luthor and so on. I think Brett Ratner was the first director to get hired for the job, but then he turned it down. And then the director's chair went to McGee, then he dropped, and then J.J. Abrams commissioned to direct the movie himself.
Yeah. And Tom Welling was going to be Clark, right?
Yeah. Christopher Reeve was going to serve as a project consultant, and he wanted Tom Welling to play Superman.
Yeah. I don't personally like him as Clark Kent in Smallville. So, I don't know. I would have liked him to get someone else.
Anthony Hopkins was considered for the role of Jor-El.
Fuck yeah.
That would have been awesome.
Ralph Fiennes was considered for Lex Luthor.
I don't know who that is.
You ever seen Harry Potter? No, Flash of the Titans, okay. The guy who played Hades.
Oh,
Yeah,
damn.
he's cool. Yeah, he would do good at that role.
This was
As
when,
Lex Luthor? That would have worked great.
yeah, this was when Brett Ratner was involved. Josh Hartnett and Jude Law were considered for Superman, but due to scheduling conflicts, they kind of dropped out. But Brett Ratner wanted an unknown for the people. Then when McGee came aboard, several different guys auditioned. Paul Walker auditioned, Ashton Kutcher auditioned, Brendan Fraser auditioned, Matthew Boomer. A lot of people auditioned.
Yeah.
And they even consider Johnny Depp for Lex Luthor, which
Nah. Yeah,
I don't know about that, but it's Johnny Depp. I really want to see how he handles the CIA version of Lex Luthor.
Yeah, but as Lex, I don't know. I don't see that.
Oh, and Christopher Walken was in talks for Perry White.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
Henry Cavill was also one of the unknown actors considered for Superman. So this was his first try for Superman, but he didn't take it because the role then went to Brandon Routh. But now he's Superman.
He's finally getting his dream.
I'm excited to see how Henry Cavill pulls it off. Because when I read the script, I read it with Henry Cavill in mind. I didn't read it with Jude Law or Josh Hartnett involved. I read it with Henry in mind.
Yeah, he really does look like Superman, and I can't wait to see how he does it.
Yeah, that's my producer. What was it? Lost in their account?
All right, so since Adam's going last, I guess that leaves me to go next. Well, I picked one that I've been wanting to do for a while, but I decided to save it, so I'm going to do it now. Today I'm going to be talking about Wolfman vs. Dracula. And the Wolfman vs. Dracula was originally intended to be a sequel to Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, and which was a very successful film, and overall really fun Monster Mash movie. Arguably the first kind of crossover Monster Mash movies. You know, the first that really took two iconic monsters and had them duke it out. And of course, there were other films such as King Kong vs. Godzilla and Alien vs. Predator, which would follow in those footsteps. The Wolfman, Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman was the first. And the Wolfman vs. Dracula was intended to be a sequel. Now, the Wolfman vs. Dracula is kind of an interesting story for one big reason. Initially, Universal wanted Lon Chaney Jr. to play both the Wolfman and Dracula, which, you know, I don't understand how that would work, but really the big reason why they wanted that was because Lon Chaney Jr. Played Dracula's son in Son of Dracula, which actually it wasn't even the actual son of Dracula. Lon Chaney technically played Dracula, since that was actually Dracula just possessing someone else's body. It was really confusing. Anyway, so the thing was though that Universal realized that this was a dumb idea. So. But there were actual makeup tests done with Lon Chaney as both the Wolfman and as Dracula. So there are images floating around the internet, and maybe I'll try to find them after we do this video, of Lon Chaney dressed up as Dracula and Lon Chaney dressed up as the Wolfman for this film. And of course, I believe Jack Pierce was going to come back to do the makeup. I could be wrong about that, but I believe it was him. Anyway, now the guy who actually wrote the screenplay, the first draft, Bernard Schubert, actually wrote the remake of London After Midnight, Mark of the Vampire, which starred Bela Lugosi as a Dracula-esque vampire. And part of the reason why I think they wanted Lon Chaney Jr. to play the Dracula was because initially, in London, when they were first planning the 1931 Dracula, they wanted to give Lon Chaney Sr. To play Dracula. So I think that was just kind of a way to pay tribute. But thankfully, it wasn't going to happen. Then they tried to get Bela Lugosi back, which was actually going to happen. He wanted to come back and play Dracula. So, and that's honestly what I wanted. If you've ever seen the film Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, which is one of my favorite movies of all time, I think it's hysterical. Bela Lugosi and Lon Chaney Jr. have this really clear and awesome sense of rivalry. Just when you see them on screen together, you can tell that they hate each other. So if you pick them as two people in conflict in a movie, I think it instantly works. I think they make really great rivals, and it would have been the same here. The plot was very interesting. It was overall very similar to the original Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, and that involved Lon Chaney Jr.'s or Larry Talbot's body is discovered and Moonlight reanimates it. Now it's interesting though because the way that he's brought back to life here, this is a direct sequel to Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. In that it also takes place years later. The bones of Lawrence Talbot and something else in his arms are discovered in the ruins of Castle Frankenstein. Now, when I was reading it, I initially thought that it was the Frankenstein monster's bones, but scraps of clothes are found on the bones, and it's revealed to be a woman's clothing. And if you guys remember, the Frankenstein monster died pretty much in embrace with the Wolfman. I mean, the Wolfman jumped on him, and then the cave collapsed. So I'm reading this article right now, and the guy's asking, "Gee, what was Bela wearing under the black suit and elevator boots?" I guess he was wearing a dress. No. My theory is that Lon Chaney or Larry Talbot was actually embracing Maliva, the gypsy woman who died in that same flood. She was in the Castle Frankenstein when that all went down. So I think that's honestly who it's supposed to be. I don't think the intention was that the Frankenstein monster was wearing women's clothing. Although that is certainly funny. Anyway, so Moonlight brings the Wolfman back to life once more. The bones reanimate and grows flesh, and he becomes the Wolfman again. Anyway, so the story really begins with Dracula trying to court. This all takes place in Transylvania. Lawrence Talbot comes back to life, and he falls in love with the daughter of a hangman of all people, who's named Yvonne. Dracula also is in love with this woman, and is more legitimate in that he's very prim and proper. He's a rich guy, and is able to convince the hangman that he's apt to marry his daughter. But Yvonne doesn't want to marry Dracula. She's in love with Larry, and they spend the whole movie kind of trying to find a way to rid. It's the cliche. Oh, we're gonna try and cure him. There's a character named Dr. Ziska, who is the one who discovers the bones of Lawrence, and is also trying to find a way to cure him. But Dracula, on the other hand, is trying to court this woman. So him and Larry are fast rivals. I like this for a couple reasons. It's not just that they're monsters that they're going to ultimately fight. It's because that they've got a very hateful rivalry, and I really like that. I really think that Bela Lugosi and Lon Chaney Jr. would have brought that to screen very well. Ultimately, though, guess what, guys? There's no fight between Dracula and the Wolfman in the script. Actually, what happens is that there's one last scene where Lawrence Talbot's not the Wolfman anymore. Not that he's cured, but that he's just not the Wolfman. And Dracula turns into his bat form, which we would later see used in Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein with that whole animated bat thing. And Lawrence Talbot fights the bat, and that's how they both die. It would have been kind of a similar ending to how how Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein closes with the Wolfman and Dracula in bat form falling over a cliff, and it would have been very similar to that. But again, it's disappointing that there's no fight. Although I don't really think that you could have a kind of satisfying fight between Dracula and the Wolfman. I mean, Dracula doesn't really have enough. I mean, he's got the whole. All right. In some continuities, Dracula does have kind of superhuman strength, but I just don't think it would have been a very cool fight. I mean, it definitely would have been nice if there would have been a fight, but ultimately that's just not an action scene that I'm interested in really seeing. I'm more interested in seeing, like, Dracula, really have an emotional rivalry with the Wolfman, which I'm glad that's there, but, I don't know, some kind of fight would have been nice. Anyway, so, that's about it. I actually haven't read the script, but the reason why this wasn't made was mainly production problems, and Bela Lugosi dropped out of the role right when they were about to go shoot, the film ultimately just wasn't made because they went on to make House of Frankenstein, which included all three popular monsters. They thought it was a better marketing ploy. Now, overall, this film would have been a treat to see, just for the novelty of it. The article I'm reading admits that the script itself isn't really that good, in that it was just kind of there. It was just penned out just to make the money. It wasn't really there to make a good movie. So in that case, it's not good, but it would have been a novelty. I mean, it's the Wolfman fighting Dracula. It should have happened. It didn't. It's disappointing. The last interesting thing that I want to discuss is that this film was supposed to be filmed in color. Yeah, Universal was going to make their trek into color with the monsters. Now, ultimately, this is all going to come down to they didn't want to shell out the cash to make the film. Yeah, they didn't. It was going to be in Technicolor because they figured that, the last one was so successful, why don't we just film this one in color? But it ultimately wasn't, because it just racked up to be too much for what are supposed to be genre films, and just kind of shoved out every year to keep people going to the theater. So that's about it, really. I think it ultimately should have happened, but it didn't. But it's a classic idea, so that's my pick.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, I mean, it really, it's one of those things that you think would have happened, but it didn't.
Yeah.
All right, so
I was just typing up pictures on Google of it too. And yeah, I was actually wondering why somebody made a fan-made poster saying it was supposed to be in color, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I was like, oh, well, you just explained it.
Yeah. It's in this article I read. So that's about all I have to say. So Adam, you're up.
Now I've been excited to talk about this because at first, when I heard about it, I thought it was a joke, and then it actually isn't. And are you ready for this, Zazubaar?
I am indeed ready for this.
I'm going to talk about Orson Welles' Batman.
I guessed it! Yay!
From what I've gathered by reading several sources, mainly from comicbookresources.com, of the production notes of this being made, it would have been a mixture between Tim Burton Batman and, yes, Christopher Nolan Batman.
Oh. Wow.
This was going to be a dark movie.
What year, Adam?
It was put into production in 1946.
Oh, good. Okay.
And what can I say about this? There wasn't really a plot laid out yet because it got scrapped too early, which I'll get into in a little bit. But I just want to list you some of the ideas because Orson Welles was a huge comic book lover.
Oh, really?
And Batman is his favorite hero. In fact, I'm looking at a picture. Well, I'll get into that actually in a little bit. I'm going to be talking about some of the villains that he was considering to be in here. George Raft was considered to be Two-Face, which I don't really know too much about George Raft, but I do know that Raymond Burr was also considered to be Two-Face.
Oh, that would have worked good.
That would have worked. Basil Rathbone was supposed to be the Joker. And
yes.
If you ever type up a picture of yeah, he looks just like the friggin' Joker.
Yeah, that version, yeah.
Yeah. James Cagney was considered to be the Riddler. Marlene Dietrich was supposed to be Catwoman. God, the list just goes on about how many ideas he was spinning around, and I think he was winding up going with one with the Joker because the Joker was always, like Batman's #1 villain.
Oh, yeah.
And this was, from what I've gathered, it wasn't really supposed to be an origin one either. It was supposed to, like the animated series, pick up in the middle of the continuity.
I like
and
that.
I want to get your opinions on who was going to play Batman. Orson Welles wanted so badly to play Batman.
Yeah.
And this is actually why the movie wasn't made. To be honest, at this time, Orson Welles fit the physique of both Bruce Wayne and Batman. And I'm looking at a picture of him dressed up what looks like a Zorro costume. And just the overall look of him, he would definitely fit Batman. And there's no denying his voice.
Oh, no, yeah, he would have
epic
been a
voices
great
ever.
Batman.
But here's what the studio wanted. I don't know which studio, it just is the studio. The studio wanted to play Batman. They wanted Gregory Peck to play Batman.
Really?
Yeah, really. And Orson Welles fought this so much. He just kept on fighting it and fighting it and fighting it. And he even went so far as to draw his own design of the Batman thing, or the Batman suit. And I actually believe you would like it, Zazubaar. If you look up some of the drawings of it.
Yeah, I will. Hold on. I'll put them in the video for those of you listening.
Orson Welles kept fighting because he wanted to be Batman, and he would have been awesome as Batman.
And that costume looks awesome.
Yeah. And the thing is, he couldn't win, and so
yeah.
As much as I love Orson Welles, he was a total selfish bastard, and he signed off the project because of it.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it was going to be called The Batman. And it just sounded so cool because the way how he was in interviews and so on and so forth, Orson Welles was describing it as being a serious psychological thriller kind of movie. And it was definitely not going to be like the Adam West Batman in the 60s, which I honestly think, if this movie was made, the 60s Batman series would be completely different.
Well, 60s Batman series was the way it was because that's what the comics were like at the time. Oh yeah, dude, go back to Silver Age Batman. That stuff's
I don't know.
insane.
I remember. I don't read comics.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying. Yeah, comics.
I'm just wondering why, in this case, why Orson Welles wanted to take such a dark turn with Batman.
That's because, well, it ultimately comes down to that's the way the comics were at the time. 40s Batman was very dark detective stories.
Okay.
Batman was based on the Shadow, who was another dark detective character. And if you read the first Batman story, Detective Comics number, I believe it's Detective Comics number 13. It's a ripoff of the Shadow, but yeah, Batman was originally a very dark character. I'm just glad that the film was going to be put in production when it was. I'm looking at the picture of the costume right now, and yeah, he had the right idea. You got to do Batman as a dark terror in the night, and he certainly had that down. Yeah, the comics were very dark detective stories at the time, so I'm glad he was taking that direction.
Now, here was an idea of the movie that he was going to throw out there. And what has happened is basically Batman is trying to stop the Joker, the Riddler, Two-Face, and Catwoman, and they've taken over a prison. And I'm not sure if Arkham City was created yet, but it sounds like he's describing it like Arkham Asylum. Yeah. It sounds like he was writing it for Arkham Asylum.
It was not created yet. That was created in the 70s.
Okay, but it just says that they're taking over a huge prison full of nut jobs. So that's cool.
That is very cool.
And Orson Welles openly says several times that Batman is his all-time favorite superhero. This movie would have been good. Orson Welles would have done such a good job with this friggin' movie. Just the idea that he was hiring all these big named actors to also play like the villains just adds to how serious he was taking this entire movie. So I would have to believe that this movie would have been good. Would have been unbelievably good.
I wish it was made. I mean, this just sounds so interesting, and it would have been it would have changed superhero movies, because if it was taken so damn seriously, then we probably wouldn't have. I wouldn't want to say that we wouldn't have had 60s Batman, because again, that was based on how silly the comics were at the time. But I would almost say that we wouldn't have had the campy Batman serials that we got. That we wouldn't have had, I don't know, I think it would have been, because Superman the movie is considered to be the first big superhero movie. I think this would have been considered that.
Oh, here's the ending. Orson Welles' notes on the ending. Right now it explains that the Joker is basically on top of Batman, and he unmasks him. He's basically in a fight for his life against the Joker, Riddler, and Two-Face and Catwoman. There's no Robin, from what I see, and from what I'm reading. There is no Robin. Good. I hate Robin.
Well, he was pretty generic in the comics at the time, but he was there in the comics.
God, this would have been awesome.
Yeah, I wish it was made.
So that's mine.
Awesome. That's a great pick. And I know you're such a big fan of Orson Welles, so I'm glad you did it.
Love Orson Welles.
Is there script to the Orson Welles Batman?
There was just a bunch of layouts that Orson Welles was presenting to the studio, which probably was either Universal or Warner Brothers, and they were like, "Yeah, go for it," because Citizen Kane. Actually, they were like, "Go for it, but be very careful," because at this time, Citizen Kane was not a big hit. Citizen Kane was actually a flop, even though now it's considered the greatest movie ever made. But so everyone, the studio was keeping a complete eye on Orson Welles. Everyone was keeping an eye on Orson Welles because he was known as a very, very difficult person to work with, and clearly him wanting to play Batman and refusing to even compromise for Gregory Peck clearly shows that he meant business. So
yeah. That's a great pick. I have to read those production notes, so definitely I'll put if we get them, I'll put the link in the description because that sounds interesting. And I think the people watching will be interested to hear about that. So if you guys have nothing else you want to say, I think that about does it for this edition of ZGC Monthly Reviews. Thank you very much for listening. And as always, look in the description below for links to GORIZARD and Adam's channels. They are both awesome people who push out awesome videos, so definitely subscribe to them. And
announcement: Lake of Death is completed. We wrapped up shooting last weekend. Now the race is on for finishing editing, which I have completed 3 scenes. Matt Crafton in the process of editing a lot of the muzzle flashes and so on and so forth. So the movie will be up relatively shortly.
Cool, I can't wait to see that. So definitely check out Adam's channel for more information on Lake of Death. Check out GORIZARD's channel. He's going to be posting a lot more reviews coming up. Am I right, buddy? And he's also posting a lot of soundtracks. So definitely check out GORIZARD. And if you happen to want to check out my channel, I've got some stuff going on there. Of course, ZGC Monthly Reviews is coming out every month on that show, on my channel. And my Godzilla-thon is going to be coming up in July. And I've got some more reviews I'm going to be posting soon, so look out for that. So definitely subscribe if you want to check that out. So thank you very much for listening. I'm Zazubaar.
GORIZARD.
I'm a very exhausted and tired Chocolate Pilot 5 at 2:23 in the morning.
Thank you very much for listening, and we'll catch you all next month when we'll be reviewing the Heisei Gamera trilogy.
Thank God, a good movie! Or a good series of movies.
Yeah! Alright, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all soon.